Okay, so in this round I'm gonna show you the results from the autofocus test that I made. So the first is the 55mm 1.8. Overall, the results are okay, are pretty good. It is at a slow walking pace. Almost all the images were in focus. Only when I got really close to the camera, the autofocus lost me because I got too close and the minimum focus distance was beyond what the lens can focus. At a faster pace, the 55 managed to keep up pretty good with me, and at a running pace, even at a running pace, most of the images are really sharp. So the autofocus also did a very good job at a faster pace. So in this round, the 55 definitely gets a point for autofocus in photography. Um, the next is the 50mm 1.4. Sorry, yes, the 50mm 1.4 Sigma. At a slow pace towards the camera, it almost all the images were in focus. So overall, a very good result, keeping in mind that it's still a 1.4 lens. Almost almost all the images were okay, were in focus. But when I did it running towards the camera, it struggled a bit. It lost focus on some of the images, so not as good as result as the 55. The 55 did a pretty good job even at a faster pace. The Sigma is a bit slower, so it missed a lot of shots at a faster pace. So if you're doing sports or something like that, probably not the lens for you. As you can see, it struggled to keep in focus at a faster pace. Now the 50mm 1.8 at a slower pace did a pretty good job. Almost all the images were in focus. It only lost focus when I got really close to the camera, so that's pretty amazing for a $250 lens. It's actually hold up its game with the 55, which it's a 4 times more expensive lens. Now at a faster pace, it also did a pretty good job. Almost all the images are in focus. And even at a running pace, it struggled a bit, but still the overall images were in focus. It definitely did a very good job, even better than the Sigma. The Sigma has a very difficult job at 1.4, so it's to be expected from a 1.4 lens, but the 50mm really did a fantastic job. Now in the test charts, the first is the 50mm 1.8. It's actually pretty sharp in the middle and very okay in the corners as well. It has purple fringing, just been to be expected at 1.8, but overall in the middle is very sharp, and the purple fringing is pretty well controlled. Stop down to f2, the image becomes really sharp in the middle. The corners a little better, not by much, but a little better. And stopping down to f2.8, the image is really sharp in the middle, good contrast now. The purple fringing is almost gone, and also the corners really look really good, and the purple fringing is also almost gone in the corners. Stop down to f4. The image is really sharp, the corners are really sharp, and that purple fringing is gone. At f5.6 the image is pretty much the same. At f8 you can see a very good improvement in the corners, but also we get a little bit of green fringing now at f8. And at f11 the image is pretty identical to f8. Now the 55. The 55 is really sharp in the middle, a bit sharper than the 50, but you can see that it has a bit of pincushion, the 55mm distortion. You can activate your corrections. You can see the pincushion disappearing, but also losing a little bit of image quality in the corners. At f2 the image is sharp, really sharp. The corners are okay, but you can see that purple fringing as well. At f2.8 the image is very sharp. The corners are okay, still have that purple fringing. At f5.6 the overall image is really sharp. The corners are really sharp. And at f8 and f11 the images are pretty identical. We also see that green fringing that we saw at the 50mm, also in the 55 at f8 and f11. Now moving on to the sigma. The sigma is really sharp at 1.4. Even in the center is sharp. The contrast is very good. The corners are also very good at 1.4. We see a little bit of fringing, purple fringing, which is to be expected, but the image is pretty good even in the corners. Also, we can see that the sigma has hardly any distortions, which is really good. That means that even at 1.4 and you don't lose image quality in the corners. At f1.8 the image is a little bit better in the middle. The contrast is better, and that purple fringing is well controlled. In the corners also the purple fringing is very good. Stop down at f2. The image is overall very sharp. Even the corners at f2 are incredibly sharp, and very little bit of chromatic aberration. At f4 the overall image is really clean. That purple fringing is gone. The center is really sharp. The corners are really sharp, so great result from the sigma. At f8 the overall image is perfectly in focus. The overall image is tack sharp. So at f11 mostly the same. At f16 also the same. We can also see that even at f16 a little bit of diffraction kicks in, but not so much, and the corners are still really good at f16. So overall a very impressive result from the sigma.